What's the most NSFW outfit you've seen that someone actually wore to work? The receptionist at a professional office I worked at thought it was okay to wear an oversized Tupac t-shirt with no pants and slippers to the office for her first official day. Overall very confusing because she wore a beautiful outfit for her interview. Not quite up to the standards here, but the funniest one I have seen in the last few years was the day we had to sit through ethics and compliance training to be told about not accepting bribes and gifts, and one of my team turned up wearing all branded gear that he'd been gifted from one of his suppliers. A girl I knew wore a see-through mesh top to work without a bra in a call center I once worked at. Oddly enough, she wore it about 3 times before she was eventually pulled up about it. Can't think why. Playboy bunny outfit. I was a server at a semi-nice casual restaurant that was frequented by business people. It was Halloween and we were encouraged to wear costumes. One of our hostesses wore this and our manager didn't flinch until a customer complained. On Valentine's Day, a new hire dressed like Cupid. He wore a white shirt decorated with red hearts and a white tie with a large heart on the center of it. Then, his pants were also white, but with angels going up and down the legs. Everyone loved it, especially the female employees. But his supervisor told him to go home and change because it was a distraction. NSFW. In a different way, I worked in a law firm with a fairly casual dress code. Jeans and t-shirt were acceptable, but just barely. The legal assistants regularly took documents to the local county courthouse for filing. One legal assistant came in wearing a "fuck the police" t-shirt. I wasn't his boss, but I couldn't resist telling him he couldn't wear that shirt to the courthouse. He borrowed a sweater from someone. One of the agents I was teaching in a call center wore a dress so low-cut and so short that when she moved the wrong way I saw everything. Another girl liked wearing corsets to make her boobs spill out of her shirt, and hoodies that said inappropriate things like "blow me." She couldn't understand why HR kept pulling her in for meetings. Hospice central office. Secretary is looking to catch some doctor. Fishnet stockings. Skirt that shows the bottom of her ass. No underwear, maybe a G-string. MD comes in and states, "What, is this a strip club now?" I about fell out of my chair. I worked for an instrument supplier and was installing equipment at a customer site pharmaceutical company. It was around Halloween and Hugh Hefner had just died. Lots of employees were going around, including in the lab space, dressed like Playboy bunnies. Not that their outfits were that skimpy, especially those who were in labs, but it was still weird seeing a bunch of scientists at work in bunny ears, bow ties, and cotton tails paying tribute to Playboy. Secondhand story from my husband, but a guy on another crew wore a 2-piece safety suit instead of the 1-piece like he was supposed to for the job. He slipped and fell on his ass in some caustic waste. Since it was a 2-piece suit, it was able to leak into his suit and he AHD to basically run out of the job, strip down naked, and have coworkers pour vinegar all over his lower half, including down his ass crack and on his junk. So remember, if you work a safety job, don't ignore the required gear. Sometimes the required gear seems silly, but they require it for a reason. Accidents happen, and in a worst-case scenario, proper get should save you. No tits and ass here, but many moons ago I worked for Royal Mail as a postman. Had a new hire that came into work wearing high-heel platform boots. She didn't come back the next day because she didn't seem to understand that those items of footwear are not conducive to the amount of walking posties do, and managed to knacker her ankle. Also complained that carrying bags and putting mail through letter boxes was damaging her nails. Never saw her again. I saw a PA wearing a full-on porn actress schoolgirl uniform and walking up and down the office over and over. All the men were acting like dogs watching tennis on TV. Wasn't a job but a job interview. I was doing a remote interview via Skype and the woman being interviewed was driving a car. She was so obese and she propped her phone up against the speedometer so she could use both hands to drive. When she set up the phone, it was clear that she was wearing a very large and loose tank top with no bra and big-ass sunglasses. At one point she asked me to wait and I said sure, until I realized she was ordering food in the Wendy's drive-thru. When I called her out on it, she tried to pick up her phone and dropped it between her legs. This is the moment my team led and I saw her bare vagina. I just hung up and threw her resume away. In a fairly formal office, the owner was holding an employee appreciation luncheon, spouses welcome. One guy's wife showed up in jeans so low cut you'd have been able to tell if she had a Brazilian or not except for the G-string covering the area. She had the body for it, but it wasn't the place to be showing it. Call centers on the weekends. There was one Saturday it was like all the girls on the team came straight from a lingerie party. One girl was wearing a lace teddy with lace boy shorts. I mean, there was just enough pattern to keep the bits mostly covered. On the other end of the spectrum, someone wore a bath robe to work one day. We weren't sure if there was anything under it. I worked in a very stuffy, old, and famous law firm. Last year on Halloween, a very attractive young female attorney came in wearing a skin-tight black cat suit with cat ears on. It didn't show any skin. But it didn't need to. She was clearly not wearing a bra and her nipples were very visible, so was the fact that she was wearing a lace thong underneath. This was the kind of office where men wore ties every day and women wore skirt suits or pantsuits at all times. Nobody said anything to her as far as I know, but it was whispered about for a while. I try very hard not to sexualize my coworkers, who are all brilliant and accomplished lawyers and not objects of fantasy. But that costume made me ask, why not both? We had a human resources manager that would wear sheer white dress shirts to work. Her nips were dark as heck and you could see them across the room through the shirt. In the sun, you could almost see through the shirts. This started a few months after the sale of the company to another firm. They moved their own people into top management positions. A month or two into the wardrobe change, the general manager made an inappropriate pass at her. She sued and was awarded close to 10 years' worth of her salary. This one woman just skipped on panties sometimes. She wore a skirt every day. Working in bookkeeping, so people were rarely there. But every once in a while I'd notice and try not to look. When I was in college working for our student government, one of my coworkers showed up in tights that were so small you could clearly see every outline of her vagina. Not to be graphic, but she was a small girl, with a larger area, there was a lot to notice. Our boss told her to go home and get changed. She got her back up about slut-shaming. What preceded was an embarrassing hour-long meeting with her, our boss, the student government president, the dean, our internal ombudsman and legal counsel. Like, on the spot. It was in an office, which didn't have good soundproofing, so I heard the whole affair. She sounded willing to concede defeat after 5 minutes, but that shit kept going. I wasn't even involved nor had to deal with any of it, but listening to it gave me chest palpitations from secondhand embarrassment. Girl where I worked came with a cut t-shirt, showing her side breasts and wearing no bra. Manager came and told her to go home and get changed so she wouldn't catch a cold. Topless. I'll explain. I walked in on the very attractive 19-year-old receptionist while she was examining her big breasts. They were completely out there as she had pulled her top to her waist. I told her to put those away and she giggled and apologized. Was she in a private room, break area, or all-gender bathroom? Nope. This was at the front desk and a client could have walked in at any moment. Before that job she was a stripper at a full-nude strip club. There was that time the dude ran in the NFL Combine and his dick fell out. It's not my job, but it doesn't get any more NSFW than running a 40-yard dash, in spandex, with your dick flopping in the wind, in front of NFL officials, other participants, and ESPN's camera crew. Not to work, but my trade school uniform was a black polo shirt with black pants and black shoes. One girl showed up in a swimsuit and then tried to fight everyone on it by saying that it wasn't a swimsuit because she doesn't swim. She dropped out not too long afterward. A rather beautiful coworker wore some jeans with a large split in crotch. She was either commando or G-string too. I was just on the edge of being friendly enough with her to be like, "Hey, your pants split," about halfway through the day. She just smiled and said, "Yeah, I know," and winked.